Yeah, District Attorney, thanks for joining us. Just tell me how difficult this case was. I know, 13, well, now 17 years after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, these kind of cases are often very difficult, also, especially when you have an acquaintance that is part of that allegation. And so, we had a great team of lawyers, Brandon Simmons, Clint Heiner, and our detectives, Derek Quotes, did a great job of preparing for this case. And it comes down to the courage and the resiliency of the survivor to get up and talk and confront their abuser and to tell their story. And so they did a great job of putting the pieces together, showing that they knew each other. She had a story to tell about how she was a victim. They had met on in November and December of the year, a short, very quick romance. They had gotten wedding rings together, engagement rings. And then she started to notice the red flags of emotional and verbal abuse and psychological abuse. And she tried to call that off. And in our probable cause statement, we talk about how he wouldn't let her leave the parking lot. He got in the car, he continued to yell at her, took her home. She went to drop him off and invited her up because she thought he was going to speak to her, and then proceeded to rape her. And so she finally got to come forward and tell that truth, and the jury believed her after 17 years.
We've been following Mr. Alahverdian for a few years now, since he was arrested in Scotland, and again, we have an interest because he was in the news back here years ago. What was that like on your end with kind of the interest surrounding this case with what happened in Scotland?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of these cases that, and it really has a really interesting procedural sort of history with this. It started out in 2008 into a county that's south of me in Utah County. There was an allegation of a rape and sexual assault at that time. The victim, actually survivor, filed a police report. Actually, even did a rape kit, SANE kit, materials that was taken as evidence, and then it just sort of died. And in 2008, when that happened, that rape kit stayed on the shelf untested. At the same time, the defendant had moved to Salt Lake County, and where our survivor and victim had met him, and he raped her. And then fast forward in around 2017, 2016, if you'll recall, there were approximately 250,000 rape kits in this country languishing on police evidence room shelves that had never been tested. So in 2017, 2018, that rape kit was tested, and it made a hit out of a sexual assault case that happened in Ohio, and made that match. So we knew that the defendant had been in the state, and based on that, the Utah County prosecutor filed this action. Mr. Rossi or Alahverdian, faked his death, went down to British in the United Kingdom, and because of that filing, our victim saw and remembered him, and she had the courage to come forward. And something that she had tried to report, but family members had kind of been dismissive, and which speaks to the experience of many such victims, sexual assault victims, that nobody would believe her. But she was
you're saying back then, years ago, she was kind of dissuaded from coming forward.
Yes, absolutely. And then finally she did come as a result of this really long sort of pathway, and was able to also produce receipts from the purchases, and we were able to cobble that case together. So and then of course the defendant fighting extradition, coming up with these fanciful stories, and this whole flavor of faking your own death, I think, captured a lot of people's imagination, and it's been closely followed. But for us, it was always about the truth of this victim and survivor, and her resilience and her incredible courage to come forward and testify and confront her abuser.
The part about him faking his death and then using a fake identity, though, do you think that helped your case to say, this guy pretended to be someone else for quite a period of time and tried to take himself off the face of the earth?
Yeah, I mean, we were limited. We couldn't really get into that evidence. And so we really had to focus on the incident that happened. The court had kind of ruled that that might be too prejudicial. So we could not develop that entire theory of that case. And so we were limited to focusing directly on the victim's story and what her experience was. And so, all of this now, of course, certainly will come out at sentencing, which is scheduled for October 20th, where all this information and our position is going to be to talk about that he fled from this jurisdiction and he fled from this country, that he changed his identity, that speaks to the concern that we have and why we're going to be arguing for prison and maximum time under our laws.
And that sentencing is scheduled to happen after the other trial, correct?
Yeah. I mean, the case down south from us is scheduled to start in about a month. And of course, those are allegations only. There's a presumption of innocence that applies there in that case, as is our process. And I suspect that that the sentencing may be after that trial, if it in fact goes as scheduled.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to end by saying that it is really important for us to recognize that when we have survivors, that if you're a victim and a survivor of sexual assault, please come forward. There's an entire community of people who want to help you, and you are not alone. You will be believed, and you will be supported. And this is not something that you need to carry with yourself. As the victim even testified in this case, she was timid and she was very frightened before, but she was able to recover her voice back and to have that courage to come forward. So you don't need to suffer alone. There is a group of a community of people here to help you.
And in your trial, you had the accuser in the other case testify as well to kind of set that. I mean, do you think that helped as well?
Yeah, I think, that was, when our prosecutors researched this, we had multiple different individuals who have been impacted by the conduct of this defendant over multiple different jurisdictions. And so, for us, that was an important piece of evidence to bring. Now, the judge limited us to that one witness, but that witness being able to come unknown to our victim here, to be able to share her experience and and what happened and how it happened, I think was also very important. But I think it was also just the believability and the genuineness with this survivor spoke. But that was an important piece of that conversation as well, and the presenting of the evidence.